In today's video, we're going to be making black currant cheesecake from Beyond the North Wind by Darra Goldstein. I've done a few cheesecake videos now, and I try to bring you guys something that's different than just your normal cheesecake you can get in a grocery store or even like New York style. Like the last one I did was the Hokkaido snowmelt cheesecake from Japan, which while still fundamentally being a cheesecake was quite different. And this one is like that as well. This uses farmer's cheese rather than cream cheese as the base. It's much lighter and airier than a normal dense cheesecake that you would find in New York City. And it uses some black currants, which is a tart berry. If you're unfamiliar, a lot of times you'll see red currants, not so much black currants in American grocery stores at least. It is a very nice flavor pairing with the cheese. So enough of that. We're going to go ahead and hop into the kitchen and I'm going to show you how to make this. The first thing we're going to do to make our cheesecake is make the dough for the crust. So I've got a stick of butter that I've softened and cut up into pieces, and to that I'm going to add 1/3 cup of sugar. And then I'm just going to use a wooden spoon to mix all that together and get these creamed to where they form a sort of a paste of a light fluffy paste of butter and sugar mixed together. This is about where you want your butter and sugar mixture, a very pliable, almost like paste texture. And to that, we're going to add just a pinch of salt, as well as a splash of vanilla. And 2 egg yolks. And once again, we're going to mix all of this together until it comes together in a uniform mixture. Now, it's not dough without flour, so I've got a cup of flour, and we're going to put that in. And we're just going to mix this until we get a solid piece of dough that we can work with our hands. The dough will go through several different phases, a shaggy phase, a crumbly phase, but eventually it will come together into a smooth ball that looks like sugar cookie dough. And so it's kind of sticky at this point. So for this next part here, we're going to get an 8-inch springform pan that we've buttered, and we're going to flour our hands a bit. And we're going to press this out and get this all across the bottom and up the sides, at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches up the sides of the pan as well. Once your dough is patted out and looks just like that, we're going to go ahead and refrigerate it for at least half an hour up to overnight if you need to take a break and finish the filling later. Or you can just let it go ahead and refrigerate while you're making the filling, which should take about half an hour. While we're making our filling, go ahead and preheat your oven to 375 Fahrenheit. Now, this is farmer's cheese. You can get this in any grocery store in the United States. If you happen to be near an Eastern European grocery store, they have higher fat percentage farmer cheese. This is 9% fat farmer cheese. I actually don't have one of those in my town, but I was driving through Panama City and there was one there. So that's why I decided to make this recipe. Actually, it's a rare opportunity to use one of these ingredients, but regular farmer's cheese will work just fine. So this is about 2 cups, which is about 12 ounces if you're going by weight. And we're going to put in 1/2 cup of sugar, and we're just going to get this mixed in together really well. Just like before with the crust dough, mixing this is going to go through several different phases. There's going to be like a wet sand and then a shaggy dough type texture. But eventually you should get to almost like ricotta cheese or like a really, really soft Play-Doh. And that's how you know that these are really combined well, the sugar and the farmer's cheese. So once you get to that point, we're going to go ahead and add in an egg yolk, as well as a teaspoon of potato starch. And one more time, we're going to go ahead and mix all of this together until it gets fully combined. These are black currants, which is the star fruit of this particular cheesecake. I've never seen fresh black currants in the United States, at least. I've seen them in Europe, but I do see red currants in the United States occasionally at Whole Foods. But these are black currants. You can get them frozen. It's a very northern and Eastern European fruit, so definitely check this one out if you've never tried it before. So this is about 1/2 cup, and we're going to put a tablespoon of sugar, and we're just going to get those all mixed up. And oh man, look at that beautiful color already. And once we get them mixed up, we're just going to go ahead and set this bowl aside while we continue to make the cheesecake. In the jar of your blender, we're now going to take 1.5 cups of those black currants and go ahead and get them in there. And to that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. And we're just going to puree this on high to get a nice, robust colored purple-red syrup that's going to go into our cheesecake batter. We are ready to finish our filling, and at this point you have a choice as to your presentation. It mostly just deals with what it looks like at the end. This is our black currant puree, and we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And you can thoroughly mix this in if you want just a really dark purple cheesecake. And it will stain the whole filling and make it that way if you do it that way. Or you can sort of cut this in as you're folding in the egg whites, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And it will give a more marbled appearance. Again, the flavor-wise, it should basically be the same. It just kind of is whether you want like a dark piece of cheesecake or if you want a ribbony texture. I'm going to go for the more marbled look. So I just let the puree sit on top. This is a egg white from the egg yolk we used earlier that we had separated. And I just whipped it to soft peaks. And now we're going to put that in as well. And now we're just going to gently fold this mixture until we get the egg whites incorporated, trying to maintain as much of the air in those egg whites as possible, but with a somewhat uniform mixture. Now we've got our chilled crust, and we're just going to very gently spoon our mixture in. And smooth out the top. And now we're going to put this in the oven at 375 Fahrenheit for 1 hour. I just took the cake out of the oven, and something I like to do whenever you get a cake or any sort of pastry that puffs up is you sort of just almost slam it, not hard, but sort of hit it on the table, and that stops it from shrinking too much. I don't know why exactly that works, but that's kind of a commonly known tip out there. But you can see it's got this crumbly crust on the top. That's because this is not a water bath cheesecake. You'd get a much smoother top if it was a water bath. So, but that's not what this recipe is. That's not what it's supposed to be. Now we're going to let this go ahead and cool all the way back down to room temperature. With the cake cooled, we are now ready to cut a slice, and I'm excited to see how this looks. So far, the first cut is nice and clean. And moment of truth. And look at that. That looks really good. So the marbling that I was going for didn't really go through. This is a pretty strong die, but it is a beautiful piece of cheesecake. This type of cheesecake, by the way, is much lighter than like a New York style cheesecake, but we're not quite done yet because we're going to finish plating and making this look pretty. So now we've got the sugared black currants from earlier, and we're going to just put those across the top. Get a little bit of that syrup too. And then we will finish it up with a little piece of mint for people who enjoy that flavor. And there we go. That is our cheesecake. I enjoy bringing you some kind of different recipes from around the world, and I hope you enjoy this one. I definitely have really developed a thing lately for Eastern European baking and cooking. It's so good. Ukrainian, Romanian, Polish, Russian. It's all really delicious, and I encourage you to check it out. And you can start by checking out Beyond the North Wind. I think it's a pretty good entry point for this type of cuisine.